What's going on, my fellow A-plussers? It's your boy Adam Perez. I'm back, baby, once again with a brand new movie review. As I had the opportunity to go ahead and check out Godzilla Minus One on Thursday night's sort of early preview, if you will. The film officially drops today on Friday, December 1st. A great Christmas present, if you ask me, to go ahead and kick off the holiday season. Not that this is a holiday movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it definitely kicked off my December in a fantastic way. Had to go. I had the opportunity to check this out at AMC theaters out in Arlington, if I'm not mistaken. And to be honest with you, man, I walked away really enjoying this movie, man. I thought this was a really great movie. It had a little bit of everything that I was asking for, especially when it comes to a Godzilla movie. Not to say that the Godzilla movies that I've seen lately have been kind of hit or miss, but this one just hits differently. I think this movie does a really good job of putting sort of the human aspect first, and not to take away from Godzilla whatsoever, but when you do see Godzilla, his impact is very startling. I mean, you can immediately feel the stakes in here and just what Godzilla sort of represents and means to some of the main characters as you see them kind of going through their own trials and tribulations. I think makes Godzilla even that much more impactful. I appreciate them going back to sort of the human aspect of these particular films, right? The people on the ground that are dealing with sort of this devastation that this unknown monster is sort of bringing forth. Where I think when we look at sort of the monster verse Godzilla movies and King Kong movies, there are very few human characters in there that are worth remembering or have had stakes or found themselves in situations that are memorable for us to think of, like, man, these are really big impactful character moments, where a lot of that is really sort of those movies are really carried by the monsters themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how they want to go ahead and attack those particular films, right? Really boasting the special effects and how cool Godzilla is and the destruction and whatnot, and you get lost in sort of the plot details and sort of the character moments. But this movie in Godzilla Minus One does not do that whatsoever. I do think it's really important that this movie is set in the time period that it's in. This is not a modern day movie. It is set in a particular period of time, and that is in the 1940s, very post sort of World War II. So you find Japan already on its heels, already mourning its losses. And then, after several years of reconstruction and trying to build itself, now it sort of has this new nuclear threat, if you will, in Godzilla trying to trample on what they've sort of started to rebuild, right? So it already immediately puts this time period in a really great place to certainly focus on. And I think for me, that really elevated the human aspects in here, especially when it comes to sort of the main character. I don't think I've watched a Godzilla movie that has felt so emotional, that has really pulled at my heartstrings, and just devastated to kind of see like what this main character kind of goes through. I don't want to necessarily give too much away, but based on the idea that he does begin this film off sort of as a kamikaze pilot, and he necessarily makes some decisions and some choices that are very much frowned upon, that he certainly harbors and resents and has a lot of guilt and shame that he carries through him with this movie. And the fact that he makes that decision at the very beginning of this film almost makes it feel as though his decision carries on with him, in the sense that because of the shame that he's either brought to his family, it's almost like this Godzilla is sort of this curse on his life, taking away the good things or the life certainly around him, right? And it makes him question the idea of not only did he make the right decision, but also does he even sort of deserve to live sort of mentality. And there's something really powerful about that when you see him depressed in the dumps, Godzilla continue to come back. Well, there's certainly um, hints of joy around his life and what his life could certainly be. Sort of that idea of being weighed down and bogged down certainly by your past and your depression and sort of the embodiment of what your guilt and your shame looks like in the physical image of that of somebody like a Godzilla. So I thought the main character had a lot of great motives in here. I thought visually it looked great seeing him sort of as a pilot, especially towards the end of this movie. Was really stunning, very breathtaking stuff. But you can feel his character arc, and for me, that's super powerful. There is maybe one aspect of this movie that I was like, I don't necessarily know if I'm cool with that sort of thing. And it really kind of happens towards the very tail end. It's one of those things where I wish that they had kind of stuck to their decision. But again, when this journey is sort of the main character's emotional journey, and you see sort of the defeat at the end and the payoff for him, it feels very much fitting in the sense of this man has sort of taken the pressures and the frustrations that have been bogging him down, and now his life can finally sort of begin anew. And there's something really powerful about that, man. I even sitting in the movie theaters, I hear people sniffling and crying and things like that. So maybe not the full theater, but you can definitely tell it certainly pulled at some people. Visually, the special effects are incredible. I've never felt Godzilla so threatening. Oh, I can't necessarily say that because going back and rethinking about what I saw when it comes to something like Shin Godzilla was really impactful too. I love the creature design for that, probably more than I did in this Godzilla, but it doesn't take away from the level of destruction and the awe that you certainly see on screen when destruction is just sort of leveled. Great supporting characters in here, great humor, great dialogue. This movie had a lot of things certainly going for it, man. And honestly, as many times as I've heard the Godzilla theme from all the Godzilla movies that I've seen, it just hits completely differently in here. I found myself bobbing my head a little bit, really anticipating sort of the final battle. I'm looking around at other people in the theater and they're just jiving to it, man. Like they did a really good job of just building things up from the very beginning of this movie all the way to the end to a very climactic moment as well. So I definitely do think that there's certainly more Godzilla to come after this, just based off of how this movie ends. I want to try and find an article of Godzilla minus one ending explained because there are some teases that have me sort of scratching my head a little bit. But aside from that, man, look, if you're a Godzilla fan, or maybe you haven't necessarily checked out a Godzilla movie, but you've been thinking about possibly doing it. Where should you start off at? I think this is a great movie for that to certainly be the one. Again, taking place in the 1940s, very pivotal moment. And I think because of that, it really does even help elevate this movie in regards to its emotional stakes as well. But overall, man, I really cannot complain about this movie. If I could see it again, I certainly would. If I had to go ahead and give this movie a grade, besides the little hiccup that I had at the end, give me an A plus, man. Give me an A plus. I don't really have too many big nitpicky complaints that might really take away from this film. I thought the length of it was fine. The pacing of this was really good. We get ourselves a few sort of really great Godzilla moments, very nerve-wracking moments as well. And you feel the stakes. You don't know who's gonna survive, who's gonna die, and I think that definitely heightens it that much more. So give me an A plus, man, for Godzilla minus one. If you want to go ahead and check out this film, don't worry about what other people saying. Check it out for yourselves. That's something I'll always say. But let me know what you guys think. If you had the opportunity to check out Godzilla minus one, let me know your thoughts. What do you agree on? What do you not agree on? Is there anything that really did get to you that really elevated this movie? I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts because, again, at the end of the day, these are just my A plus opinions. I want to know yours. So let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. We'll definitely talk with you guys more a little bit later. But until then, do me a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A plus. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.